Hi, and welcome to this Q&A, which is all about newborn sleep. We asked in our free community, what do you want to know about your newborn sleep? And we've chosen a handful of questions to answer for you today. Our first question is, my 8-week-old is only taking short naps. We get anywhere between 20 and 35 minutes in the bassinet. I try to resettle him, but he is wide awake, only to seem tired again 5 to 10 minutes later. I give 60 minutes of awake time and watch for sleepy cues before I put him down. So an eight-week-old napping for 20 minutes after an hour of awake time.
Okay, so that's a really common thing to happen with newborns. We get all of this advice about newborns only needing about an hour awake time, but that's for baby, tiny weeny 0 to sort of 2-4-week-old newborns. By the time the baby's 8 weeks old, a lot of things have changed. So they need longer awake time because they need to actually have a really good nap. And at the moment your baby's having a little tiny cat nap, I suppose, because they're actually not really that tired. And if you have a longer stretch of awake time, then the baby will have a really good sleep. And sleepy cues are a little bit inconsistent, and also they can happen at that sort of hour mark when there's a bit of a lull in energy, when the baby's digesting all their food, and that is just a little bit of a, I'm tired. It's like if you have a late night in the middle of the night, if you have a late night and then in the middle of the day you get that sort of rest and digest lull in the middle of the day. That's exactly what your baby's doing at 60 minutes. So they probably don't actually need to have a sleep there. They need to just push through that little yawn maybe, and then you'll notice that your baby will actually stay and want to stay awake for quite a bit longer at 8 weeks. And then once you pop them down, they will have a really good sleep. Yeah, so that's what I would say with the awake time. What else could be affecting the short naps, Nikki?
Well, I think 20 minutes is very, very short. That's not even a full sleep cycle. So that could even be that they're uncomfortable, and I would be making sure that they're really well winded after their feeds before they're going down to sleep. But I also think that if you're trying to get longer naps out of your baby at any age, but particularly for newborn babies, that you should try sleeping them in a really, really dark room, turn up the white noise, make sure they're swaddled. And then that's going to help them nap for longer in any case. But the very first thing you should be checking off is that awake time and extending that out beyond an hour for an 8-week-old baby. All right, this next question is quite a common question we get at this age. Why does the witching hour occur? And what are some tips to reduce the stress and upset in the home each evening? The witching hour.
Yeah. Do we
Doesn't
know
say
how
old, but
baby is?
in a newborn baby, I suppose.
Newborn baby. So the witching hour is really common in newborn babies. A lot of people associate it with colic, and a lot of babies do have colic. Colic is when you get a buildup of gas that hasn't been burped out properly, and it makes their tummies uncomfortable, and it happens in the evenings because that's when the biggest buildup is, and they are crying because they're actually uncomfortable, and they've got gas in their lower intestines and they need to get rid of that. So that is one cause of the witching hour. Most babies, however, who have the witching hour are the ones who have either had too much or too little sleep during the day. And then there's a build-up of overtiredness in the afternoons, and they're so tired, but they sort of don't know what to do with themselves, and they're actually just needing to go to sleep, but they kind of can't go to sleep. At that point, you just do anything you can to get them to sleep for a newborn. And the other undertired, really commonly babies, or we get told, like we said in the last question, that we get told that they only need a 60-minute awake time or just over an hour. So if they've been asleep for the majority of the morning and then awake and then asleep for the majority of the middle of the day, they actually just need some awake time, and that's what causes the witching hour. And then they need to be awake, but then their awake window is too long, and then they actually end up overtired and not being able to go to sleep properly. So that, I guess, is the most common problems of why you would get the witching hour.
Yeah,
What should you do?
Under and overtiredness are definitely the biggest contributors. So the first thing you would do is like a future-proofing method where you're going to actually start either lengthening out your baby's awake times to make sure that they're not undertired at the end of the day, and maybe also capping some of their nap hours. Like if they're sleeping for 3 hours in a nap, that's a bit too much. That's definitely going to mean they're undertired. So you might start taking a bit more control of their nap times in the day. Or if you feel like your baby's not really napping at all in the day, then it could be overtiredness. So you're going to want to look at implementing some kind of age appropriate, more predictable nap structure to help them get better naps happening. In terms of surviving the witching hour, prevention is the best cure, right? So, I mean, trying to avoid it going forward. But if your child is in the midst of the witching hour, whether they're over or undertired, after a while, either child is going to end up overtired. So make sure so what I would do is I would swaddle them. I would bath them. I would swaddle them. I would feed them in a really dark room with some really, really soothing white noise turned up quite loud, and have a really
I would actually use the shh track that we have rather than just white noise if they're really in the midst of the screaming, crying witching hour, because that is really calming.
And feed them no stimulus. Don't sort of not interact, but don't talk to them or try and play with them. Just keep everything at 0 so that your baby has to kind of switch off and basically do anything you can to get them to sleep. So don't be afraid of rocking them or feeding them to sleep or anything like that. You've just got to get them to sleep at that point. But and then from there, for the next day, have a look at their nap structure to make sure you can rule out over or under tiredness. Our next question: when can sleep training start? Woo. My daughter was a great sleeper. I want this for my son ASAP. This rocking to sleep stuff is not for me or my 2-year-old who still needs attention. So I'm going to start off actually by saying that sleep training is a big topic that we're not really going to launch into in this video. If you want to find out some more information about sleep training or our views on it, we've got a lot of videos on our YouTube channel about it. We've got a lot of information on our website too. I am going to say, if you have a newborn baby, so that we would consider that a baby under 3 months old, that you probably don't need to be implementing any kind of formal sleep training with your child at that age. The best thing you can do, because babies in this age range are so adaptable, and the best thing that you can do is get your baby onto a really age appropriate nap schedule. So making sure, like we've talked about before, that their awake times are spot on for their age, that they're not napping too much or that they're not napping too little. And that in itself is going to set your baby up with some really good sleep habits that will help their night sleep automatically. And you might not even need to sort of head towards any kind of sleep training later on if you've got a really good predictable pattern from the start.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
I agree. Yeah. If you start young enough, our programs start at 2 weeks. If you start actually controlling a little bit more of their day, that actually naturally consolidates their nighttime really quite early on. And by no means are we putting babies in their beds and leaving them crying and screaming until the morning to consolidate the nighttime. They actually naturally, by the way that the naps are structured through the day, they are tired enough to go to sleep and consolidate the sleep at night by themselves. We're not sleep training newborns. We're just looking at their wake times and through the day to help the night. Now, again, through the day, we're also not strict regimented. You hold your baby awake and go for a walk and keep your baby awake until 10 o'clock. We under 3 months, certainly more on the, if your baby wakes up here, then this is when you would need to put them to sleep. If this is when they go to sleep, then this is when they'd need to wake up. And, you know, really age appropriate and really really
Flexible.
adaptable and adaptable and flexible for each day, because newborns aren't going to be predictable. Things happen, so they might wake from wind, and so if they wake from wind, then you can go, okay, so it's, you know, 12 o'clock, my baby's woken up here, you know, now I can put them down at this time to work out when they reshuffle the rest of my day, and it still then helps your nighttime. So that's what I would do.
If she's talking about rocking to sleep, I wouldn't be so worried at this age about rocking your baby to sleep. I think you'll find that if you're implementing age appropriate naps and awake times in the day, then you'll be able to quite easily gradually reduce that rocking to sleep a little bit later on. And they should go to sleep a lot easier too.
Exactly. They'll go to sleep easier, and everything we do is that 80-20 rule. You know, if you're putting your baby into their bed 80% of the time and even like patting them, rocking them in their bassinet, you know, getting them to sleep like that, then they understand that that's their sleeping space. If you're rocking them on you 80% of the time, then they will eventually get into a habit after 3 months that that's where their sleeping space is. So make sure they have their sleeping space as well. And 80-20 rule with babies.
Our next question is, I currently breastfeed to sleep a 12-week-old. How do I avoid this becoming a bad sleep association? If I put them to sleep drowsy but awake, they still seem hungry. 12-week-old.
12-week-old. It's really good that you're trying to put them to sleep drowsy but awake. They are probably not actually hungry, but they're actually just tired and they're trying to suck something to go to sleep. And that's what you're sort of taking as appearing hungry. Don't you think, Nikki?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think that a 12-week-old is going to be quite pliant in terms of it's going to be quite easy to really gently remove that sleep association. How do I avoid it?
To avoid it, you can start just making sure that you have given them, by 12 weeks, they're having a really good feed, and making sure that you've fed them, and then you separate feeding and sleeping. So feeding happens first, then they have their awake time, and then they go to sleep. They don't need to be fed always, but right before they go to sleep. So separate those two things, and I think you'll find it really easy to remove that sleep association before it becomes a habit.
Well, that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope that that answered some of your newborn sleep questions for you. We do have a lot more newborn sleep videos on our YouTube channel, and a lot of free sleep articles and advice on our website as well. So all of the links for that are below. If you're interested in getting started with your baby on some kind of really age-appropriate nap routine during the day, make sure you check out our sleep programs. We have a sleep program specifically for newborns that guides them through age-appropriate awake times, the ideal nap structure from 0 to 3 months, and that works for babies who might have reflux. Amanda had 2 reflux babies herself, so it works.
We've built it on babies that are difficult, that's for sure. We've built the whole programs on difficult babies. So
make sure you check those out as well, and the links for those are going to be in the description box too. Thank you again for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Remember to like this video and subscribe to our channel.